With respect to the sentence of the defendant, Jason Chen, on count 1 of presentment 315228, we, the jury, do unanimously find the following statutory aggravating circumstances beyond a reasonable doubt, in that the murder was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, and that it involved torture or serious physical abuse beyond that necessary to produce death, and do unanimously agree that the defendant's sentence shall be life imprisonment without possibility of parole.
Today's case is as gruesome as it is heartbreaking. It's one of those stories that stays with you long after it's over. There's a lot to take in here. So let's take a closer look. The night before Thanksgiving 2022, Jasmine Pace left her mother's home in Chattanooga, Tennessee, just before 11:30 p.m. She drove away in her white Chevy Equinox. The next day, Katrina Pace received a text from her daughter's phone saying Jasmine planned to stay at her friend Emma's house for the rest of the week. Jasmine had recently lost her grandmother to cancer, so skipping the family gathering didn't immediately raise alarm bells. She had occasionally pulled away from contact while working through her grief. That changed abruptly after a new post appeared on Jasmine's Facebook page. "Enjoying Thanksgiving with my baby." What first struck Katrina was the revealing outfit in the photo, something Jasmine would never post online. But it was another detail that sent waves of panic through Jasmine's father, Travis. His daughter's many tattoos, each inked months apart and forming a timeline of her life, were missing. The image wasn't real. The post wasn't what it claimed to be. Katrina contacted Emma and quickly confirmed what she already feared. Jasmine was not with her friend. Other friends and family members had also received messages that appeared to be from Jasmine, yet no one had spoken to her directly. Each message claimed the 22-year-old wanted to be alone. The family immediately began searching for her. Jasmine's Chevy SUV was equipped with a GPS feature called My Chevy, which allowed her mother to track its location. The vehicle was found parked outside a condominium building off Mountain Creek Road in Chattanooga. By the time they located it, it was already 8:30 p.m. On November 26th, 4 days after Jasmine had last been seen leaving her mother's home on the night of the 22nd, as far as the family knew, Jasmine didn't know anyone at the Signal View condos where the Equinox was parked. When they accessed the vehicle, they noticed the driver's seat pushed far back, much farther than Jasmine's petite 5'2" frame would require. It was clear someone much taller had last driven the SUV. They called 911 to report her missing. Chattanooga police arrived and took a report, documenting everything the family had discovered.
We want her home and we want her safe.
Bailey Putman is doing anything she can to try to bring her childhood friend home. Jasmine Pace hasn't been seen since November 22nd. Chattanooga police are investigating the case as a missing person.
Her mom has not an ounce of sleep. I don't think she is 8.
Jasmine was last seen here on surveillance video leaving her mom's house. They believe she was trying to leave town to grieve a recent death in the family, but they knew something went wrong when she didn't show up to Thanksgiving dinner.
And that is so very unlike her. There's not a day that they don't hear from Jasmine, let alone an hour.
Katrina also contacted the family's cell phone provider. Since Jasmine was on their family plan, her mother had full access to her phone records. What she found was alarming. There had been no outgoing calls for days. With the call log in hand, the frantic mother began dialing every number listed, doing so in the presence of police officers who had come to help. One number immediately stood out. Jasmine had spoken with it for more than an hour on the night of the 22nd. When Katrina called that number, it connected her to a young man Jasmine had met on the dating app Bumble. His name was Jason Chen, a computer science major at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. The two had been casually dating for several months, but not seriously enough for Jasmine to introduce him to her parents. Neither Katrina nor Travis had ever met Jason. When informed that Jasmine was missing, Jason claimed he hadn't heard from her in days, and that their last conversation lasted only a few minutes. Katrina immediately recognized this as a blatant lie.
He just lied and said that he hadn't talked to her. He talked to her for a few minutes Monday when she was with me at the bank. He talked to her for 71 minutes. He would remember that. He talked to her for over an hour, and he just lied.
Jason's lack of concern was another red flag. Katrina pleaded with officers to take additional steps to investigate, but they did very little. Jasmine was an adult, and at that point, there were no obvious signs of foul play. A report was filed, contact information was exchanged, and then the officers left, once again abandoning the frustrated parents to fend for themselves. So Katrina and Travis took matters into their own hands. They began knocking on every door in the condominium complex, but no one had seen Jasmine. A security guard eventually agreed to share camera footage showing the white Chevy entering the parking lot. Using the timestamps from the My Chevy app, they narrowed in on the footage. On November 23rd, shortly after 8:30 p.m., the SUV drove into the lot, heading toward the area where it was later found. The driver, however, could not be identified. Only then did Katrina notice one final text on her phone, sent by Jasmine in the early morning hours of November 23rd. There was no message attached, just a pinned location showing where her device had been at 2:18 a.m. Jasmine had never sent anything like this before, especially not in the middle of the night. The day after police dismissed their concerns at the condos, the family went straight to the pinned location, the apartments at 110 Tremont Street. Once again, the desperate parents knocked on every door. All but one, apartment 210, answered or were accounted for. Neighbors recalled hearing a loud disturbance from that same unit around 2:15 a.m. on November 23rd. Somehow, Katrina and Travis made their way inside apartment 210. Just inside the door lay a notebook with the name of its occupant, Jason Chen. The unit was small and open concept, with the kitchen only a few feet from the couch. A narrow hallway led to the single bedroom. One bathroom, a stacked washer and dryer tucked inside a closet. Almost everything in the apartment was visible the moment they walked in. On the kitchen counter sat a small travel bag. It belonged to Jasmine. Cleaning supplies were scattered around. In a desk drawer, Travis found his daughter's driver's license and credit cards. He pulled them out and placed them in plain sight. Once again, Chattanooga police were called. Officers spoke with Katrina and the neighbors, then left. Believing law enforcement was continuing to fail them, Katrina returned to the apartment multiple times over the next few hours. She gathered notebooks, electronics, several phones, a camera, and an iPad. Anything that might offer a clue to her daughter's location. The parents also searched the dumpsters outside the building. Close to midnight, Chattanooga PD finally returned to 110 Tremont with a search warrant and began a formal search. During the initial walkthrough, investigators noted what appeared to be bloodstains on the living room hardwood floor, absorbed into the grain, as well as stains in the bathroom and on the bedroom carpet. Blood spatter was found on the bathroom doors and walls. The abundance of cleaning supplies was alarming. Trash bags had been emptied. In the dumpsters, police found 2 white sneakers and a pair of blue trousers. These items were collected. Inside the apartment, they located fragments of broken glass in the living room. Further signs of a violent struggle. Furniture had been moved. Marks on the carpet showed where pieces had originally sat before being rearranged. It appeared the room had been altered to hide a large stain discovered beneath the bed. On top of the bed sat a kitchen knife. In nearly every room, investigators found stains that could have been blood. The crime scene unit sprayed the apartment with Blue Star, a forensic agent used to reveal cleaned or invisible blood. The hallway lit up. The disappearance of Jasmine Pace had now become a homicide. Detectives obtained camera footage from the apartment building and surrounding areas and began piecing together Jason Chen's movements, hoping it would lead them to Jasmine. They confirmed that Jasmine had arrived at 110 Tremont before midnight on the 22nd. Her Chevy Equinox was captured turning into the parking lot. It was later seen leaving as well. The vehicle could be tracked from Jason's apartment back to the condominium complex around 8:30 p.m. the next day. A figure in a light-colored hoodie was recorded driving it toward the Signal View condos. A dark-colored Prius, likely a rideshare, picked up the driver at the condos and dropped them off in front of Jason's building. A Ring camera positioned beside the apartment's exit captured Jason Chen leaving the building multiple times on the 23rd. One of these sightings was at 8:27 p.m., just 3 minutes before the driver in the light hoodie took Jasmine's SUV to the Signal View condos and abandoned it there. Investigators also noted several other suspicious trips Jason made over the Thanksgiving holiday. The first was a morning visit to Walmart, where he purchased Band-Aids, peroxide, and various cleaning supplies. While using self-checkout, he rang several higher-priced items through as asparagus, attempting to conceal the purchase. Overhead, Walmart cameras also captured a clear image of his white sneakers, believed to be the same pair later found discarded near the apartment dumpsters that evening. Jason then stopped at a Walgreens, where he bought a package of paper towels. Sometime between that Walmart trip and the moment he left the blood-stained, hastily cleaned apartment, he must have taken Jasmine's body from the building, discarding pieces of his clothing along the way in an attempt to cover his tracks. As investigators continued tracking the computer science student throughout Chattanooga, his distinct white hoodie became a critical point of identification, easily visible even in dark or grainy surveillance footage. Around 6 p.m. on the 23rd, the white-hooded figure appeared again, this time struggling to drag a large suitcase from the front door toward the parking lot. Moments later, Jason's black Toyota Camry was seen leaving the area. On November 29th, exactly 1 week after Jasmine was last seen, Jason Chen was located at his parents' home in Nolanville. When officers arrived to arrest him, they immediately noticed fresh lacerations on Jason's right hand and feet, injuries that were highly consistent with a violent struggle.
He's gonna pat you down. He's gonna place in handcuffs. No, place you in arrest. You just call us and you go to the back of the car. So you gotta put handcuffs. Good.
Okay. So you said there was a search warrant for me?
Correct. Yeah. There's search warrant for your person. So we're Nolanville Police Department. We're gonna be detaining you in the flashing the search warrant. We're assisting Channel.
Okay. And is there any like calls or anything?
Yeah. They're gonna explain. That's it. Yeah. We're gonna let them do that, but I don't want to speak for them. Yeah, we don't want to let you misinform you of anything, so they'll tell you all that when we get down there. So just take it with them. They're the lead on this. We'll let them explain it because we don't want to pile on information. We'll let them one time it all down. Okay. All right. So if you will, just face away from me.
A search warrant was obtained for Jason's parents' house. In the room he used, investigators confiscated a black backpack and a collection of handwritten notes. Many of these appeared to be Jason attempting to get his story straight. One note claimed he had last seen Jasmine on November 19th, but that they had spoken on the 22nd. He also wrote that she had a history of running away and had a restraining order against an ex. It was clear Jason had been planning for his inevitable interview with police, portraying Jasmine as an unpredictable runaway. In his notes, he claimed she had been homeless and insinuated that her mother was an alcoholic. Inside his backpack, detectives found a SIM card belonging to Jasmine's phone. Jason's own phone was seized and analyzed. On it, investigators found a photo of Jasmine in his bathroom, taken on the night of her disappearance. Multiple screenshots of text messages from Jasmine were saved, though the actual texts were missing. Disturbingly, the morning after Jasmine was likely killed, Jason sent her a photo with the note, "Slept like a baby," and later that day asked, "Hey, are we still good for dinner tonight?" Metadata revealed the photo had actually been taken 2 years prior. Data from Jasmine's device showed it had been taken to Walmart along with Jason that morning, despite surveillance footage showing he was driving and shopping alone. The phone's movements later revealed the route Jason took after loading a large suitcase into his Camry, driving to Suck Creek Road, which runs parallel to the riverbank. On Thursday, December 1st, investigators walking along the riverbank discovered what they feared most: Jason Chen's large suitcase. Inside, they found 98-pound Jasmine Pace, wrapped in 3 trash bags and shackled with 2 handcuffs. Her right arm was cuffed to her right ankle and her left ankle linked to her right elbow. These were not standard law enforcement handcuffs, and one chain was broken. An autopsy determined Jasmine had been stabbed at least 60 times, with her wounds concentrated primarily on the upper left side of her body. A knife was recovered from her chest. Jasmine was a devoted aunt to 2 nieces and the godmother to a little boy named Juan. According to her older sister Gabby, Jasmine had always wanted children of her own and often spoke about the kind of mother she hoped to be. She was also an animal lover, cherishing her 4 cats. To those closest to her, the fun-loving and sweet 22-year-old, known as Jazzy, was fiercely protective of her family and friends. Jasmine is remembered as someone who was always there for those in need, offering love, support, and a listening ear whenever it was needed.
There was a moment when you're with her, you realized how clever, how smart, how brilliant she was.
Knowing how many lives that she touched and them spreading the word on my sister, I think it also touched other people's hearts that have probably gone through a situation like this.
I've known her my entire life, and I've never seen her burn a bridge or have ends with someone badly.
She just always made it a point to know, for you to know that she was thinking of you and that she loved you. She was fierce over her family. She was fierce over her friends.
In December 2022, a judge set Jason Chen's bond at $5 million. The gruesome nature of the murder had shocked the public, and many expressed outrage that he was even offered a bond. By this stage, investigators had pieced together a complete timeline of events. Evidence showed that Jason had used Jasmine's phone and SIM card to access her banking information, log into her social media accounts, and even post fake updates after her murder. Disturbingly, he messaged a woman he had connected with on Tinder saying, "I guess we're dating now," as Jasmine allegedly still lay dead in his bedroom. Later that night, he told friends he just needed to finish cleaning his apartment before playing Call of Duty online. When the case went to trial in January 2025, shockingly, Jason's defense attorney, Josh Wise, did not fight for his client's innocence. In his opening statements, he told the jury that Jason killed Jasmine Pace, but claimed it was not premeditated, framing it as a case of voluntary manslaughter. Although the state did not pursue the death penalty, Jason faced a life sentence without parole if convicted of first-degree premeditated murder. His defense's best hope was to convince the jury to consider a lesser charge.
This is the suitcase in which Jason Chen stuffed the 98-pound body of Jasmine Pace. That's where I'm going to begin this story. Except I want you to remember that as you hear evidence in the next week, that this is not a story like the one that you read in a novel where you have to imagine the appearances of characters. The evidence that you will hear in this case is very real. The evidence will not require
that you use your imagination. Jasmine Pace was very real. And Jason Chen really killed her.
For the crime to be considered voluntary manslaughter, the defense had to convince the jury that Jason killed Jasmine in a fit of passion, reacting irrationally after being provoked. Their theory claimed that the couple had been drinking wine late into the night at Jason's apartment. When Jasmine went to the kitchen to grab another bottle, she allegedly heard repeated Tinder notifications on Jason's phone. Angered by this, an argument supposedly broke out. The defense claimed that Jasmine attacked Jason with a broken wine glass, having used a kitchen knife earlier to open the previous wine bottle. Jason, they argued, instinctively grabbed the knife on the bedside table in self-defense. To explain the shackles found on Jasmine's body, Wise suggested that Jason had panicked after the stabbing. He allegedly used the handcuffs to fit Jasmine into the trash bags and suitcase, attempting to conceal the crime. The timeline of the murder and attempted cover-up was meticulously reconstructed using surveillance videos, cell phone data from both Jason and Jasmine, and testimony from neighbors. Courtney Brewer, a neighbor, reported hearing an altercation after 2 a.m., corroborating the late-night timeline of the events.
The night of November the 22nd and early hours of November the 23rd, was there an incident that you can recall?
Yes, I was woken up in the middle of the night by a loud scream.
Can you kind of take us, and you can go slowly through the events that woke you up and everything that you heard from that point until you didn't hear it?
There was a scream that startled me out of my sleep. I checked my phone to see the time because I was going to call 911. It was around 2 a.m. There was a voice that was screaming words. The words I couldn't understand fully.
Was it a male voice or female?
A female voice. And then there sounded, assuming that the apartment above mine is laid out the same as mine, there sounded like chasing, a lot of footsteps going across towards the front door.
One person's footsteps or two footsteps?
It sounded like multiple.
You said towards the front door. Was it towards the front door or towards the bedroom?
Towards the front door because I was in the bedroom when I heard it.
You had said that you heard a scream. Can you describe the scream?
Distressed. Not quite angry, emphatic.
Recreating a possible scenario for the murder itself relied heavily on the physical evidence left at the crime scene. This is where the case became complicated. Not only had Jason used various types of cleaning agents inside the apartment and disposed of many items, including the broken knife, but the scene had also been accessed and searched multiple times by Katrina Pace. These circumstances raised questions about potential contamination of the crime scene. The defense called its own crime scene expert to review the numerous changes that were visible at the apartment between the first time police were called and the moment the scene was photographed and processed. Furniture had been moved, and items had been removed. The expert questioned whether evidence could have been planted. Travis Pace testified that he did not recall seeing a knife on the bed when he first entered with his ex-wife to search for his daughter.
And then this past Monday, you were in this room when you saw Katrina Pace testify on that stand, right? Yes. Were any of those statements true?
Do we remember it differently?
You heard Katrina testify that she went back into the apartment multiple times after that night, or after that morning?
I heard that.
Were you with her those times?
Was that?
You know what she did in the apartment during those times?
Mm-hmm.
Your ex-wife, Katrina Pace, does she have a reputation for being honest? Mr. Pace, in your opinion, does Katrina Pace, is she an honest person?
I don't have an opinion.
Yeah.
Even if the apartment scene was considered compromised, The conclusions drawn by the medical examiner were clear. They indicated a premeditated attack. Dr. Stephen Cogwell, the Hamilton County medical examiner, concluded that based on the location of Jasmine's wounds, she had been in a fetal position when attacked. The shackles she was found wearing had therefore likely been applied while she was still alive.
If someone were stabbing a person 60 times, we would expect them to try to get away. But what if they can't? What if they can't because their right hand is chained to their right leg, their left leg chained to their right elbow? Makes it difficult to run. Makes it difficult to do anything. Dr. Coswell told you that she was stabbed in a fetal position 60 times. We'd also expect that if she's being attacked on the right side of her body, that she might try to defend herself with both hands. There should be injuries on both hands. Instead, what we have are injuries to the left hand, no significant injuries to the right hand. That's consistent with her being in the fetal position with a hand unable to move on the ground. It's consistent with exactly what we see on the screen right there. Her being handcuffed.
Dr. Cogwell's autopsy showed Jasmine had no alcohol in her system, disproving Jason's claim about drinking. The supposed Tinder notifications that provoked her were also false. Jason did not testify, and his defense largely abandoned the original story, only arguing minor points like lack of ligature marks. Attempts to cast doubt on the shackles were inconclusive. The number of wounds indicated premeditation, and the timeline, including Courtney Brewer hearing activity at 2:11 a.m., reinforced the deliberate nature of the attack.
Courtney was 2:11 a.m. The phone location to her mom was 2:18, 7 minutes. She screamed. Things happened. She was able to know she was in enough danger that she needed to send her mother her location. It wasn't fast. It wasn't fast at all, and we know that. 2:11 is 7 minutes from 2:18. It wasn't fast. She knew she was in danger. She tried to get out of the door, and Courtney told you that she heard a door slam. Jasmine knew she was in trouble. She had time to use her phone before he started killing her.
The jurors began deliberations around 4:15 p.m., following the closing arguments, and returned with a verdict shortly after 5 p.m.
With respect to count 1 of presentment 315228, we, the jury, find the defendant, Jason Chen, guilty of first-degree premeditated murder.
This is an emotional verdict. Everyone needs to maintain decorum, please.
A juror stated that Jasmine's family entering the crime scene repeatedly had little impact on the jury's decision, as they already knew Jason Chen had murdered her. During the sentencing phase, jurors had to decide whether he should ever be eligible for parole, while his mother made an emotional plea through a translator. Through a translator, Jason Chen's mother pleaded with the jury, saying he is a good child and not a bad person, and asked for a chance for him to return home and restart his life. Defense attorney Josh Wise urged the jury to give his client a chance at redemption, emphasizing that the justice system reflects not only how society treats the virtuous, but also how it treats the condemned.
By allowing Jason the possibility of parole, we affirm our society's belief that the most condemned among us can strive to rebuild their humanity. You're not tasked with forgiving Jason Chen or even excusing his actions.
Yeah.
You are tasked with ensuring justice, a justice tempered with mercy, not because Jason deserves it, but because it's a reflection of our humanity as a whole. I ask that, and we ask, that you give Jason the opportunity, and a 73-year-old man, to seek his redemption. Let him spend the next 5 decades behind bars, reflecting on the choices that he made when he was 22 years old.
With respect to the sentence of the defendant, Jason Chen, on count 1 of presentment 315228, we, the jury, do unanimously find the following statutory aggravating circumstances beyond a reasonable doubt, in that the murder was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, and that it involved torture or serious physical abuse beyond that necessary to produce death, and do unanimously agree that the defendant's sentence shall be life imprisonment without possibility of parole.
Jasmine Pace's family sued Jason Chen's parents, accusing them of helping him while he was the prime suspect. The tragedy deeply strained family relationships, even causing some to walk out when Travis Pace testified for the defense. With the sentence finally delivered, the family's long ordeal ended, and they felt they had finally received justice for Jasmine against the man they called a monster. Thank you for watching this episode. If you found this case compelling, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Your support helps us continue telling these stories with accuracy and respect for the victims. We'll see you in the next case. Stay safe and stay curious.